My name is Cynthia Campbell, and I'm the author of the foundational essay for the Christian practice, Comfort Those Who Mourn. I retired in 2020 as pastor of the Highland Presbyterian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. I've also served congregations in Salina, Kansas, and various places in Texas. I'm also the President Emerita of McCormick Theological Seminary in Chicago, where I also taught theology. It's been my privilege to walk with a number of people through various kinds of loss and transition in their lives. And I was especially pleased to be asked to write this particular practice. I hope that it proves a time of growth and deeper Christian practice for you and your group as well. The first part of this practice that we will explore is showing up. Perhaps the most important first step when we know that someone has experienced deep loss or tragedy is for us to show up, to come alongside, to be present to another. When someone experiences loss, it is so important that someone's in community be there. Go into the hospital, go into the bedside, go into the funeral home, going to the home and just letting someone talk about, if they wish, their loss. The biblical story that I find so intriguing about this practice comes from the book of Job. This extended poem in the Old Testament begins with the story of Job, a good and righteous man who undergoes incredible losses, loss of all of his family, his home, all of his possessions, devastated in various ways. And finally, he himself is plagued with some kind of horrible and disfiguring illness. And in the face of all of this loss, Job retreats to an ash heap and sits there in utter despair. 3 of his friends hear about this, and they go to show up, to see him and to be with him. When they first encounter him, they are so devastated by what they see that they themselves sit there on the ground. And the text says they sit with him for 7 days and 7 nights and say nothing, because they can see how great his suffering is. They show up, and in a curious way, they shut up. At least at first, they don't try to fix it. They don't try to explain it. They are simply there with their friend. Now, what happens next is this long poem unfolds with these friends trying to do exactly that. But what we want to focus on is this first moment where they simply are present to the one in pain. They do the right stuff. They show up and they're not afraid. They're not afraid of the pain and suffering that they encounter. Now, when we come alongside someone who is in the midst of loss or pain, we all want to say something. And at the same time, we're all afraid that we might say the wrong thing. And many of us have probably been on the receiving end of people, well-intentioned, saying the wrong thing. Such as at a death when someone says, well, God needed another angel. Ignoring the depth of someone's profound loss. That's why we want to focus in this first practice on the importance of simply showing up. being present to one another. It's not our job, first of all, to explain or to fix anything. It is simply to express God's compassion through our own presence.